In this journey, we will explore one of the most remarkable moments in the history of humanity, the fall of man, narrated in the biblical book of Genesis. This passage not only reveals the origins of human existence, but also sheds light on the nature of sin, the consequences of our choices, and the divine intervention amidst adversity. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and in this newly formed world, He created man, Adam, in his own image and likeness. Adam was placed in the Garden of Eden, a terrestrial paradise, where he lived in harmony with nature and his creator. In this garden, there was a tree whose fruit God had forbidden Adam to eat, for if he did, he would die. Then the serpent appears, a cunning and deceptive being who approaches Eve, Adam's companion, and convinces her to disobey God by partaking of the forbidden fruit. Eve, seduced by the serpent's promises, eats the fruit and offers it to Adam, who also accepts it. At that moment, the harmony of Eden is shattered, and humanity enters a new and dark chapter of its existence. By partaking of the forbidden fruit, Adam and Eve immediately perceive that something has changed. Their consciences are awakened, and they become aware of their nakedness, something that previously did not bother them. Overcome by shame, they seek to hide from God's eyes, weaving fig leaves to cover their bodies. This action symbolizes the rupture of the communion they had with their Creator, for now they feel ashamed and distant from Him. When God arrives in the Garden of Eden and calls for Adam, he hides, out of fear. God then questions Adam about what he has done, and the man, instead of taking responsibility, blames the woman whom God had given him. Eve, in turn, blames the serpent for her act of disobedience. At this moment, it becomes evident that sin has brought with it division, guilt, and the blaming of others, rather than the assumption of one's own actions. Faced with the disobedience of Adam and Eve, God pronounces the consequences of their acts. To the serpent, he declares that there will be enmity between it and the woman, and that the woman's offspring will crush the serpent's head, foretelling the future victory over evil. To the woman, God decrees that she will have pain in childbirth and that her husband will rule over her. As for Adam, God decrees that the ground will be cursed because of him, and that he must work hard to extract sustenance from it until he returns to the dust from which he was formed. These consequences reveal the gravity of the sin committed by Adam and Eve. They have lost the perfect communion with God, and the harmony of the Garden of Eden has been replaced by a world marked by pain, conflict, and mortality. The fall of man not only affected Adam and Eve, but all of humanity that would follow, carrying the marks of the original sin. After pronouncing the consequences, God takes a surprising action. He clothes Adam and Eve in garments of skin, demonstrating His mercy and love for His creation. This act anticipates the future divine intervention, when God would send His Son, Jesus Christ, to redeem humanity from sin and restore the lost communion. Expelled from the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve face a new world, marked by difficulty and suffering. They find themselves compelled to work hard to ensure their sustenance, and the woman will now give birth amidst pain. However, even in the face of this adverse reality, the Bible reveals to us that God did not abandon them, but continued to care for them and their descendants. The fall of man in the Garden of Eden not only marked the beginning of humanity, but also laid the foundation for the understanding of sin and its consequences. The act of disobedience by Adam and Eve demonstrates the fragility of human nature, which, even created in the image and likeness of God, is susceptible to temptation and rebellion against its Creator. Sin, represented by the forbidden fruit, is portrayed as something attractive and seductive, capable of seducing even those who live in perfect communion with God. The serpent, a symbol of evil, uses lies and deceptive promises to convince Eve to disobey, revealing the cunning and malice of the spiritual adversary of humanity. The fall of man also reveals the nature of sin and its consequences. By disobeying God, Adam and Eve rupture the harmony they had with their Creator, generating shame, fear, guilt, and division. These feelings are portrayed in the narrative as Adam and Eve hide from God and blame one another for their actions. In addition, the fall of man brought the introduction of pain, conflict, and mortality into the world. The cursing of the earth, the pain in childbirth, and the return to dust are direct consequences of sin, demonstrating that the rupture of communion with God generates a rupture in all of creation. However, the narrative of the fall of man does not end only with the consequences of sin. God, in his infinite mercy, does not abandon Adam and Eve, but clothes them with garments of skin, demonstrating his love and concern for his creation. This action anticipates the future divine intervention when God would send his Son, Jesus Christ, to redeem humanity from sin and restore the lost communion. This revelation of God as a loving and merciful Father, even in the face of the disobedience of his children, is fundamental to the understanding of the biblical narrative. It shows us that even when we fail, God does not abandon us, but seeks to restore and rescue us from sin and its consequences. The fall of man in the Garden of Eden is, therefore, a crucial moment in the history of humanity. It not only reveals the fragility of human nature and the reality of sin, but also points to divine intervention and the promise of redemption. This narrative invites us to reflect on our own choices and their consequences, as well as to recognize the mercy and love of God, who does not give up on his creation, even in the face of our rebellion. In studying this biblical passage, we are confronted with profound truths about the human condition, the power of evil, and the grace of God. It challenges us to seek communion with our Creator, to take responsibility for our actions, and to trust in the promise of restoration that he offers us. In this journey, we find not only the story of the fall of man, but also the foundations for a deeper understanding of our own existence. This narrative is fundamental to the understanding of the human condition and the divine purpose for humanity. It reveals the fragile nature of the human being, who, even created in the image of God, is susceptible to temptation and sin. At the same time, it highlights the mercy and love of God, who does not abandon his creation, but seeks to restore it. The fall of man also establishes the foundations for the story of redemption, which unfolds throughout the scriptures. The promise that the woman's offspring will crush the serpent's head points to the coming of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who will come to liberate humanity from the yoke of sin and death. Furthermore, this narrative confronts us with profound questions about the origin of evil, individual responsibility for our choices, and the consequences of sin, not only for the individual, but for all of creation. It challenges us to reflect on our own condition and to seek the restoration of communion with the Creator. In summary, the fall of man in the Garden of Eden is a rich passage that reveals fundamental truths about human nature, divine purpose, and the history of redemption. Its study and meditation can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship with God.